Hello everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and we're going to talk now about Mulan, the big budget live action adaptation of the 1998 animated movie. Now, this was originally due for release back in March 2020, but has faced various delays following the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, the recent news has been announced that Disney has taken the decision to release this movie on a special video on demand service on its Disney Plus platform on September the 4th of this year. Now, the key elements to this is that this will be set at a premium fee of $29.99 that you will have to pay. But the key fact here is that you will have to pay this on top of the monthly subscription that you already pay for Disney Plus, which I believe is set at $6.99. And what you have to realise here is that you can only watch this movie if you are a subscriber to Disney Plus. So this isn't a situation that we have with a lot of sporting pay-per-views where you can still buy the pay-per-view event regardless of whether you subscribe to the platform or not. The key to this is that you have to be a subscriber of Disney Plus in order to watch this movie and pay for it at $30. Now, Mulan will still be released in countries where cinemas are open, but obviously this is going to be at very limited capacity. And the ongoing dilemma for a lot of studios with the movies that they have slated is that the two biggest markets within the movie industry of box office, US and China, are very limited at the moment, if existent at all, in terms of their cinematic theatres. So a lot of movie studios have a dilemma. Do they wait and see when theatres will be safe and opened in a much more extended capacity, or do they bite the bullet and say, right, let's put these movies on a streaming service and see how much money we can make and profit we can make going forward, put it on a streaming service. I've done various videos where I've talked about other big movie projects that were due for release this year, whether it was Black Widow, Wonder Woman 1984, the James Bond installment No Time to Die, Fast and Furious 9. All of these movies would have been released already, but they've been pushed back to later on this year, and some have been pushed back to next year. Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which I believe is going to be released on August the 26th this year, but that's only going to be in international markets first, and then they're going to release that later on within the US markets on September. So going back to Mulan, we talk about this streaming initiative here, and we're going to talk about the price. So $30. Now, if you are part of a family, when you normally go to the cinema and you pay to travel to the cinema, you've got kids and you've got a partner as well. So when you factor in the fact that you're paying tickets for all of you that are going to the cinema, and you're paying for food, you're paying for drink, you're paying for popcorn, you're paying for other merchandise that you may buy when you go to cinema, especially if you go and watch the movie in IMAX or 3D, you pay for the glasses as well. When you factor all of those elements into play, then yes, you're going to be paying a lot more than $30, right? You may end up paying $60, $70, anything above that, depending on which cinema you go to. So the price of $30 in that scenario probably isn't too bad. And you have to remember, for $30, buying it on a streaming platform, you then have the comfort of watching the movie in your own home. You don't have to worry about taking your kids anywhere if they're going to be sick, if they have to go to the toilet. You don't have to worry about other people talking during the movie or playing around with their phones or potentially spoiling the movie for you as you walk in and out of the cinema. You can just go in and watch it in your own home comforts, in your 4K, 50, 60, 70 inch TV. You can pause the movie and play it whenever you want to at your own leisure. So in terms of that perspective, $30 probably isn't too bad. But what if you're an individual person on your own and you go to the cinema just to watch the movie, you're a single person, right? Normally you'd pay, I guess, around $8, $10, maybe $12 to watch the movie. So from that perspective, $30 is quite a steep price. So you might think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, normally I'd pay $12 to watch this movie. Now I've got to pay $30, and on top of that I've got to also subscribe to the Disney Plus streaming service. Now okay, I could subscribe for 1 month and then quit, but I've still got to go through the hassle of subscribing and paying an extra $6.99 a month to watch the movie. So from a single person to watch Mulan on the one-off viewing, it could cost you $37, right? So you think to yourself, well, why do that when I could just wait for the movie to come on Blu-ray, and I guess normally it would cost around $12 to $15, maybe $12 to $20, say, right? So it's going to be a cheaper alternative for you to wait until the movie comes out on Blu-ray, and of course once you buy it on Blu-ray, you can watch the movie as many times as you want. Now, reading various reports and articles, I don't think this $29.99 is for a permanent copy of the movie. I only think this is a rental fee. So at some point you're still going to have to buy a permanent copy, whether it's through the streaming service or whether you buy it later on a Blu-ray. Okay, now I think the reason they did that is because they want to keep the exclusive nature of watching it at the theatres, right? Because it's still going to be released as theatres on the same day as I mentioned before. Because what happens is, if you say, right, you can buy this movie at $30 and you can watch it as many times as you want, you're essentially buying a permanent copy of it, right? Then why do you need to go to the theatres at all, right? Just pay the $30 and you can go watch it as much as you want to, right? So I think that's why they didn't keep it to a permanent copy. That's why it's a rental fee. Now, I don't know what capacity the $30 viewing is, whether you can only watch it on your television or whether you have to buy a code or unlock a code so you can watch it on your phone or your iPad or your tablet as well as on your television. So that's yet to be disclosed by Disney. So that's the kind of dilemma you're at. So I think if you are part of a huge family, then yes, the $30 might be worth it. But I think if you're more of an individual who goes to the movies on their own, but I think if you're a single person, then I think $30 might be too high. So now we have to go into debate about the whole idea of releasing movies on streaming to begin with. Now, personally, I've never felt this is a good idea, particularly when you're dealing with movies that cost north of $150 to $200 million. Now, I think Mulan has a budget of around $200 million, okay? So, obviously, that amount of investment, they want to hope to recoup and make a huge profit within the box office, okay? Now, if you go on the recent run of form, if you look at their live action remakes, whether it's the Lion King, which was released last year, Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie and starring Will Smith, and also Jungle Book, which was directed by Jon Favreau, all of those movies made about $1 billion or above, right? So they would have been looking for similar returns for Mulan, particularly to capitalize on the Chinese box office, okay? So if you're budgeting a movie at $200 million and you're not going to release it on theatres, then that's a huge potential loss that you're making. So yes, Disney Plus has around, I think it's around 16 million subscribers. So potentially all of those subscribers could pay the $30 for Mulan. But that's a big ask. You're asking for a lot of your subscribers to pay for Mulan. Now, you have to remember, not everybody is going to be invested into Mulan. I thought the trailers looked very good. I was actually quite excited for Mulan. But there's a lot of people that maybe were put off by the fact that it didn't seem to have the musical songs, because as we all know, the animated movies, they have musical songs in them. You don't have the talking dragon, which I know was a very popular element of the animated movie of Mulan. It looks a much more of a serious historical action adventure, very much in the same vein as what you get as The Last Samurai, or your Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or your House of Flying Daggers. That sort of tone, that sort of serious, somber, very heavy action orientated tone, that's what the trailer looked like. And now I personally found that very exciting, but a lot of people didn't find that very appealing. So you're saying then that a lot of the Disney Plus subscribers may not watch or may not pay to watch Mulan. Okay, so you can't rely on all of your subscribers paying that $30 to watch. So it's very unlikely that you're going to make the same amount of money for your streaming platform than what you would do on your box office release. And that's the problem with the streaming service, is that not everybody that subscribes to your streaming platform are going to pay whatever premium fee that you set for this movie. The other key element, and I've made this point multiple times and a lot of people have as well, is that the problem you have when you make a streaming service is that once you create that digital copy, that internet copy, and you put it online. It's open to piracy, torrenting. Now unfortunately, this is the way of the world, and there's no way you can police it. There's no way you can stop it, right? There's just too many avenues, there's too many platforms, there's too many channels that people can use and expose to get that copy. So that's the problem you have. Okay, so it becomes less exclusive of a release, right, if people can buy it and torrent it and share it. Okay, so that's the difficulty, and this is why I never agree, especially when you have a big budget movie, to release it on a streaming service. Now I understand that we are on different times here, and we are in a state of limbo when we talk about the movie industry as to when the movies are actually going to be released again. And not only if you release the movies in theatres again, will people be confident enough, will they feel safe enough to be able to go to theatres and be comfortable enough, not only for themselves, but be able to take their kids to watch the movies. That's the key element that you've got to realise here, because essentially we won't really get to a point of normalcy in terms of the movies until there's a vaccine. Once there's a vaccine that's released, people can then feel safe again to know they can go into theatres, and if they catch corona, they can take whatever tablet or injection to cure themselves off it, right? But as we all know, a vaccine could be, you know, another year away. So people are still going to feel very cautious about opening theatres, even if you open theatres worldwide in a massive capacity. So that's also the dilemma that you have. So we also have to look on the other issue now. Mulan itself, is it still a must-see event? You know, as I mentioned before, a lot of people are excited to see Mulan, but a lot of people aren't, partly because, as I explained already, it's not going to be light-hearted musical adventure. It's going to be a very serious, somber take. If they deemed it a must-see event, then they would surely wait, right? They would surely wait until they feel that cinemas can be opened again at a much more limited capacity. If that's the case, why haven't we seen Black Widow come on a streaming service? Why haven't we seen Wonder Woman come on the HBO Max? Why is Tenet still being held out for a theatrical release? So was there something about Mulan, maybe in the advanced screenings, or maybe Disney looked at the reactions, which are very mixed? You know, there wasn't this whole praise for it. Like I said, it's faced some sort of criticism. So did they look at it and think, you know, maybe this is a movie that we're not confident in anymore? We don't feel that this is a movie that is going to make the money that we think it will do, so maybe we'll just put it out there and see how it goes. Now of course, this is going to potentially change the whole industry, right? Because if Mulan is released and it makes huge amount of money, it makes huge amount of profit for Disney, right, then you better believe other movies are going to adopt this strategy. Now, the Disney CEO did come up and say this is going to be a one-off movement. Now, we all know that's never the case when you're dealing with big budget studios and big companies. Something is never a one-off if it makes money, okay? If something makes money, then you best believe we're going to see it again and again and again. That's just the way business works. It's just the way marketing and sales strategy works. So if Mulan is a massive success, will we see the likes of Black Widow released on a streaming service? Now, I'm still inclined to say no at this point, because I think, again, you have to look at the individual merits of the movie. Now, as I mentioned, Disney may not be as confident in Mulan, but they would have far more confidence in Black Widow. As we all know, it's part of the MCU. Everybody loves Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Everybody was hugely enthusiastic about the trailers were released. I've done trailer reviews for Black Widow, you can see on this channel, but there was a much more positive reaction towards Black Widow. So because of that positive reaction and the fact that it is part of the MCU, you're still looking at a huge box office return for Black Widow. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Black Widow would make $1 billion, but it would make a huge amount of money if you release theatrically. If you look at all of the Marvel movies, well, ever since Phase 2 and beyond, they've made a minimum of 500 million. You know, if you look at the last 5 to 6 movies, they've all made a minimum of $1 billion, right? So when you're on that sort of run of form, you want to keep that momentum and keep it going. So if you were to release Black Widow on a streaming service, you are, you know, wasting potential $1 billion box office money. For a lot of movies that maybe don't have that scope for box office, ideally we look at the likes of New Mutants, for example. they probably will get pushed on streaming. Yes, if Mulan is a huge success, they probably will be put on a streaming service. So yeah, this could be a potential game changer for the industry in general. Now, I think that'll be a shame, because I think there's something very special about going to a cinema and seeing a movie on a massive big screen. I still love that big screen experience. So I've never been an advocate of moving movie releases to streaming online. We will wait and see what happens with Mulan when it is released on a streaming platform, and if it can be truly successful, and if it does, the effects and the long-term effects that it will have on the movie industry going forward. But those are my thoughts on it for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think this will have a huge impact on the industry and the streaming platforms if it is deemed a massive success, or do you think if it flops, then that'll be a deterrent for other Disney projects to adopt this pricing strategy, and we won't see a huge swarm of movies being moved over to the streaming platforms, and that they will still be waiting to see what happens cinematically before these movies get released? So those are my thoughts for now on Mulan and the recent plans for it to be released on a streaming service. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.